So as you can probably tell, I'm quite enjoying SRX the game. I haven't started a career mode yet, but I've been doing these one-off single races, and I figured today I would do something different and try out the game's Dirt Late model. The Dirt Late model has been a staple of recent Monster Games releases. This car has been in a variety of NASCAR Heat games as the opening class in career mode. It's been released as DLC for Tony Stewart's All-American Racing, and it's been included once again in SRX the game as one of the I don't want to say filler classes, but one of the alternative classes that you're expected to progress through in career mode. So we're going to go and do a full-length evening at a track called Arrowwood, which is a fictional track. The setup is not mine. I know how to drive these cars, but I don't know how to set them up, so I went to a YouTube channel by the name of Red4424 to grab this setup, and it is a night and day difference from the default setup. The default setup for Dirt Late models in this game doesn't have a front sway bar, and the suspension is way too soft. So what happens is the car frequently bottoms out, and the collision detection system in this game does not like that, so it makes these cars feel extremely erratic and just bizarre. And you need to change basically every setting possible in the garage area to get the car to feel like, you know, your average Simcade race car. I think this car is a little bit too fast, a little bit too grippy, and a little bit too nimble compared to what I've seen from our local Wissota late models, as well as watching the World of Outlaws Craftsman late model series. But for, you know, just a dirt late model experience on your computer that isn't iRacing and allows you to play through like a proper career mode and race against AI, I think this is actually pretty good. So we're going to go into qualifying here. I got the goal time in practice quite easily. And once again, the AI at 105% difficulty is pretty ruthless, so I'm going to give it my all here in qualifying. And I can guarantee you the AI is just as ruthless on dirt as they are on tarmac. And I am just not going to put the car on the pole. Like, it's not happening. I think I end up rolling off 7th here. So what this game does is, even in quick race mode, it simulates an entire dirt oval event format, which is really unique. And again, it's a level of attention to detail that not a lot of racing sims have achieved. So you do get to run all the different heats. You're seeded based on where you qualify. If you run well enough in the heat or you qualify well enough, you get to participate in the dash, and that seeds the starting grid for the main event. And of course, your main event's anywhere between 40 and 50 laps. So if you're any sort of dirt late model racing fan, this is probably your game. Like I said, the only problem is you really do have to fuck with the default setups because they are atrocious and cause like collision detection issues when you bottom the car out. Opening laps here in Heat 3, chasing down the 41 car. My initial impressions of the AI of this game when it first came out, and I just tried a pirated version, the AI tended to hovercraft around a lot and just do things that the player wasn't capable of. This seems to have been fixed. I don't notice it as much as I did when I first started playing this months ago over the summer. It also seems like different lines work about as well as they should in real life. For example, I try and go on the bottom here, and I bog out so much that the AI just blows by me on the outside, and I really have to think about how I'm going to get around this 41 car, which, you know, I don't have experience driving these cars in real life on dirt. I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, driving mini stocks. But what you learn about momentum on dirt and how far up the banking equates to how big of a run off the corner, that actually applies here, and it seems like the AI just generally respect this as well. Again, I'm trying a slide job. I'm trying to be really aggressive on the bottom. It doesn't work. I'm going to have to try something else. I try going high and cutting down low for a big run. I try really aggressive sending. It doesn't work. And the AI, you know, based on what I'm seeing out my windshield, doesn't seem like he's gripped up a massive amount. It doesn't really seem like he's cheating. And I just have to outdrive him and find a way around him, which I'm going to do by parking it on the outside and hoping he gives me a lane. Bit of door bagging down the straightaway. We're catching lap cars, and I think that's just enough. Yeah, that's just enough to get by him. So slide jobs work in this, and the AI was respectful enough to check up instead of just outright wrecking me or driving through me. Getting into the lap cars now, which is equally as terrifying in this game as it is in real life. One thing a lot of people don't know about dirt racing, in a lot of series, you're not allowed to run mirrors, so people don't move over for you when you catch them, and the flagman can only do so much with blue flags because he's just at one part of the track, so it can get spooky. And honestly, I should have been running this without a mirror as well to kind of simulate, you know, real-life dirt racing, but I kind of forgot about it until like halfway through the main. So after winning the heat race and qualifying fairly well. We're in the top 10. We've been put into the qualifying dash, which will see the starting order for the main. So we're going to roll off third here because we were the winner of Heat 3. Again, I like how as the evening goes on, the skybox gets darker and darker to kind of simulate the evening progressing. Because that is a very real thing in real life, and I know it sounds like a very petty detail to include, but like sometimes you'll actually see races get delayed or like the intermission period extended because just based on how the track is built, sometimes the sun will be in a driver's eyes at a certain angle, and it's legitimately dangerous for us to be driving, you know, the entire backstretch into the sunlight. That being said, I do think this track is way too well lit. Most, you know, amateur short tracks like this do not have this comprehensive of a lighting system. In real life, as the sun starts going down, it closely resembles, I think, Shift 2 Unleashed, with these really dark, kind of vague patches from just the lack of light on certain parts of the track. And it almost simulates like a depth of field effect or even a motion blur effect on your eyes because your eyes just aren't receiving the light that they need to, and we're obviously not designed as a species to work in low light situations. But the counterpoint to that is tracks like the dirt track at Texas or the dirt track at Charlotte have professional lighting systems and are very, very bright. So maybe that's what Monster Games is going for a lot of these tracks. But I would like to see different lighting replicated. This game also doesn't replicate the kind of dynamic tracks that you would see in iRacing with moisture dissipating throughout the evening. They've basically replicated a very static track that's kind of like 80% dry. One thing you'll notice in real life throughout the course of an evening is a dirt track will actually start taking a ton of rubber and it'll start blackening on the preferred line. SRX and a lot of the Monster Games dirt track sims do not have this. It's just a very static, again, dry track. Like in real life, the typical progression is that you wet the track, you have all the cars go out and turn really slow laps on it at the same time to pack the moisture in. The track starts out in the initial heat races really, really wet, so you're pussyfooting around the track. Usually by the end of the heats, it's all dried off and it kind of resembles what we're looking at right now through my windshield. And then about halfway through the mains, it'll start to take on a significant amount of rubber. There'll be like a black line that's about a car width wide that appears on the surface. And then just through the final half of the main events, the track is actually like super, super slick, fairly loose, and it's tough to get grip, and you find yourself back to pussyfooting around for a different reason. Not because it's wet, but because it's almost too dry. So the 41 car that started, you know, in the top cluster with us put up a pretty decent fight in the opening laps, running the middle to low line, but he is no match for us running up top. And thankfully, there's no crazy rubber banding effect in this game that has realized in 4 laps I've already checked the fuck out and has given the 41 car and just anyone in that initial cluster superhuman driving abilities to catch me. That's one thing that really pisses me off in racing games. I mean, I don't mind rubber banding that keeps things close and somewhat interesting, but it's when they shoot by you, you know, with a cornering speed that is just ridiculous, that it's like, okay, like what's going on here? Already starting to catch the lap cars. That's somewhat realistic in some of the Wisoto spec late models I've watched. If a guy has a really good setup or he's bought just a really good car that's full of modern setup tricks, he will definitely start catching the underfunded guys in just a handful of laps. So what I'm seeing out my window here is really not unrealistic. What I will say is that the dust trail is a bit excessive. In real life, like part of the benefits of watering the track and packing it in and properly preparing a track for dirt racing is that there's not a lot of dust that gets kicked up. I mean, I've seen a dust storm like this probably once in the 4 or 5 years I've been going to dirt track races and either watching my friends or driving myself. This level of dust is just not a thing. I think, again, I've seen it once. So this is a little overkill. just having to slowly pick my way through lap cars. Again, this is something that's universal about dirt racing, whatever class you're in. There is usually a huge speed disparity, whether it be talent or equipment or someone's blowing up or a wide number of reasons as to why the leader's already catching lap traffic. This kind of holy shit moment is pretty normal. And again, in real life, these guys don't have mirrors. They have no idea you're coming until you're right beside them and they can hear you. So the fact that these cars aren't moving over for me is pretty realistic, but again, that's a unique thing of dirt racing. And not only am I having to weave through the pack, but I got a yellow and black car that's on my ass. But so far, again, I overall like what I'm seeing. Again, I think the cars are just a cunt hair too fast, similar to the late models in the SRX cars. But the overall driving experience, like, I definitely don't hate this. Like, I'm having fun. It would be interesting to see what would happen in a room full of, like, 8 guys who all knew what they were doing. Oh, got past here. Getting held up by lap cars. Again, I've seen this happen in Wissota late model races up here. I think this series is called, like, the Northern Thunder Dirt Late Models. And I've seen leaders get held up like this, and it's funny. But I'm going to capitalize on the lap cars, use them as a pick. Try and slide job the lap cars, which is kind of a dick move, but it be like that. And take back what is rightfully mine. These cars so far, I mean, I've driven everything this game has to offer just in offline quick races or just mucking around in practice mode. These cars are probably the most fun to drive out of everything in the game. Because the sense of speed you get and the sense of horsepower you get as the car, you know, hits 8K RPM and above is incredible. This is one of the only games I've played, whether it be a sim or arcade racer, that really conveys the fact that you're driving a car with 750 horsepower, because even past the flag stand, like, you can feel the car still pulling, like, pretty aggressively and still gaining speed. And the way the car bounces, unlike the kind of weirdness I pointed out in my last video on the super late models, just the subtle bouncing that the car has through the final half of the straightaway, and just how quickly it still continues to gain RPM and eventually hits the chip a few times. The sensation of just speed and power you get from driving these is incredible. I also think they did a really good job at the engine sounds. These cars sound incredible in real life, and I don't think you'll ever be able to get close to just the craziness of one of these cars running wide open and being there in person and feeling it, or like a pack of them, shake the ground. But just the screaming that occurs at about 8,500 RPM and above. Monster Games got pretty damn close. Still picking my way through lap cars here. Coming up on a pack of them, which is not fun. Lap car almost slides up into me, have to get out of it there for a second. It's an interesting little race. I can't see shit. Again, the dust is pretty excessive. You see this maybe once a season because either someone fucked up prepping the track, or it was just like an excessively dry week. But there really shouldn't be this level of dust. That was a cheeky move going 3 wide there. Rub a couple fenders. I don't recommend doing that. Having to park it on the bottom to get around the what would probably be the mid-pack at this point, because I've passed a fair bit of lap cars. 9 to go. Seem to have put some space between me and second and third place. Oh, fuck. That was almost a disaster. 8 to go. Let's check the mirror here and see where everybody's at. Yeah, I got a bit of space, but again, I got a lot of lap cars to work with. Oh, they've caught back up. Losing my momentum by having to run the bottom for a bunch of laps in a row. Yep, I got someone on me. It's not good. Gonna slide job this guy. Can I get there? Nope. Try parking it on the high side, and that ends up being a mistake. Because my man in second gets by me. Oh, shit. Fuck. It was just right place, right time. Leader gets by me and then slides up into a lap car. That wreck looked pretty good, actually. That looked pretty realistic. So I think we're going to restart with 3 to go here, because that brought out the only yellow of the race. These races in real life do not go caution-free. Again, it gets pretty messy with the lap cars. Got a nice little challenge on my inside here, but as long as I can just sit up high and not hit the wall, I'll get such a huge run off the corner that I'll be okay. 2 to go at the line. Again, someone really pushing hard on the inside. They're at least holding me, but I get such a good run off the banking that they got nothing for me. Long term anyway. Yeah, white flag. Already about 3 or 4 car lengths ahead. Yeah, we got this one. Easy. That was a lot of fun though. Realistic looking wrecks. Hey, I put up a good fight. The lap cars weren't too retarded. There's only, I think, 1 instance of hover cars that I've seen. It was a fun little event. Short race too, 8.5 minutes long. You can click off a bunch of these in an afternoon, running full-length events. Anyway, thanks for coming out. This is what dirt late model racing looks like in SRX. It's honestly not bad. If you're looking for an alternative that's not iRacing's MMO format and just want to race against the AI and, you know, do a season, do some one-off races, this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this.